going to discuss servicing your listing. Let's say, for an example, tonight we have a listing appointment and we get that listing. Let's not wait a week or two before we contact the owner. Let's contact him right away by sending him a typed letter on company letterhead stationery in company letterhead envelope, and this is the letter. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Now, even if you're on a first name basis when you left, now use their last name again. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Jones, may I take this opportunity to thank you for having selected, name your company, and me to handle the sale of your home. You may be sure we shall devote the continuing efforts of our entire sales force to finding a qualified buyer for you. We will be keeping you informed of the progress of your sale. In the meantime, please feel free to call me at my office to discuss any aspect of the sale that you wish. Thank you again for this opportunity to serve you. Sincerely, and your name. Now, just with this letter, if you get nothing more out of this course than this simple little letter, if you'll do it, I guarantee you, you'll probably have at least 50% less problems with your sellers. Now, when you're on multiple listing tour, are they more friendly? Of course they are. Now, when you come over with an offer on the property, or when you want to hold the house open, are they going to be more susceptible? Of course they are. Now, let's say, for an example, 2 days ago, we had an offer accepted on the property. Don't send the letter too soon. What I like to do is find out that the buyer has met with the lender, and the lender has told me that he looks good, his deposit has cleared the bank. So maybe in 2 or 3 days, after you have an accepted deposit receipt, buyer and seller in agreement, this is another letter that we send them. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Jones, may I extend my sincere appreciation to you for letting us play a part in the sale of your home, located at, and the address. Escrow has been opened with a reliable title company, and the other necessary paperwork is being processed. At this point, all is proceeding smoothly. We will try to keep you up to date as the escrow progresses. If you have any questions or desire further clarification, please feel free to call me at my office. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve you. Sincerely, and your name. Now, what does it sound like you just told the seller? Warmly, you have informed him that the marketing period is over and that now you're kind of stepping out of the picture, and because you have a reliable lender and because you have a reliable title company, they are now taking the bulk of the load and the responsibility of getting the escrow closed, and they should be. If you can't rely upon your people to do this, fire them. Get somebody that you can, because your time is too valuable to where you shouldn't have to be too concerned about getting the loan process and the escrow closed. I recommend you've got to have a good title officer, you've got to have a good lender in order to help you to do that. Here's a special note that these 2 letters must be typed, not handwritten, on company letterhead stationery and mailed in a letterhead envelope. Now, if you're a broker, when I had my own office, you can't rely upon your salespeople to always get this done, I found. Whenever a new salesman brought in a new listing, he would put it on the secretary's desk, and one of her functions was to make sure this letter was typed and it was mailed from me. Boy, you can get referrals like you wouldn't believe. Remember the manila folder I said becomes your property profile folder or property management folder that you keep with you. Remember you had 2 of them. One with the business card on it you gave to the owner to keep our important papers in, and the other one with the name, address, and the phone number, that becomes your property management file, and you keep it in your briefcase. And I recommend that you keep 2 different pockets in that briefcase. One for your escrows, your active open escrows, and one for your listings. Don't confuse the 2. Now, some of you that you might know, it isn't going to make that much difference whether the 2 of them are mixed or not. In the inside manila folder, here's a sample of a listing service record. Now, if you've got 20 or 30 good listings, like I'm sure that some of you are going to, this gentleman that just stepped in the door a few minutes ago with that testimonial, he's doing it. He's not trying to change the system. He's just using it. And I hope that's what you'll do. Inside the manila folder, with a couple pieces of tape, slap this in there. You've got a record here, the date that you listed it, the date it expires. You've got the lockbox on. You may want to put the dates there. If you're real busy, you may just want to check those to remember that you've got them done. You've got the for sale sign on. You've passed out choose your neighbor cards. You've given a hot pitch listing at the multiple listing meeting. That's where you get up in front of the other salespeople at the MLS meeting and explain about the new listing. You've had office tour on the property. You've had multiple listing tour on the property. Remember the loan information letter that we got? We sent it. We've got it back. You review it to make sure that if there's any change to be made or anything, you've received the loan letter. You may want to make a copy of it and send it to the seller. My postman used to pick up a stack of envelopes, at least like that, every day. Thank you notes, listing service letters, change in price and terms, the listing letter. That's the letter after you've just listed it. Mail a copy of the MLS picture. I don't know how many expired listings I've ever listed, but just about in every case, they've never seen a picture of how it looked in multiple. All you got to do is take your X-Acto knife, cut it out of your MLS book, slap it on a piece of paper, put a couple of pieces of Scotch tape on it, take a little felt tip pen, write a little message on there. Just very simple. It doesn't have to be a 4-page letter. Keeping in touch, here's how the property looks in the multiple listing book. Make a little date here that you sent that out. It's the little things. It's that little repetition. You get a copy of the appraisal. If there's nothing to be done after that, if you're at the right price, if there's a change to be made, make it. Mail them a copy of it. Custom flyer. I know some of you are probably making custom flyers. You see them passed out at the multiple listing meetings. Make those. Send a copy. Drop a few copies by. Buyers can pick them up when they're touring the property. Little fact sheets. The dates that you advertised. The dates that you held open house. If you send them a letter or something, you don't have to run a copy and run up a big copy machine bill. Just make a little note of a telephone call or whatever you decided. You called to check on price or terms. You called to see if the property was being shown. Whatever it might be. You just called to say hi. I'm sitting here on floor duty, had a couple extra minutes, nothing going on right now. I was thinking about you and thought I'd call and say hi. By the way, did you clean that dog up? Striking home over here. After the property's sold, you've got the sold sign on. You send them a copy of the sold letter. The buyer letter. Hey, if you're tired of losing escrows, you've got to come to my selling course and get a copy of my buying letter in there. You will never lose another one, hardly. Okay. Oh, it's fantastic. You see, I don't sell just a piece of real estate, a bunch of 2x4s and some shingles on a piece of dirt out here. These people become investors in the greatest piece of real estate and homeowners of a piece of America. The greatest land in the country. Introduction neighbor letter. This is after the property sold. You've passed out choose your neighbor cards when you listed it. Now after it's sold, pass out introducing your new neighbor cards. Prospect for more listings. You've taken the lockbox off. You've taken the sold sign off. And now do these people apply and have you applied them to your referral system. A very little easy way to keep track of your listings. A couple comments or recommendations I'd make. If you're listing a home that's an older home, order a termite inspection right up front, because there's nothing like getting a $20,000 offer accepted on a house you had listed for $22 and then find out that the loan is $10,000. That leaves $10,000 in equity. He's got $3,000 in selling costs and $5,000 termite. Find out up front. If the seller calls you and wonders why his property's not being shown, just explain to him, it looks like the darn market has tapered off, doesn't it? Keep pressing for an appraisal. You know, closing is just like holding a grape here between my fingers. And that's what you're doing all the time, is closing, selling. If I were to hold this grape between my fingers firm enough to where the wind could blow, somebody might even bump my elbow slightly, it probably is not going to fall out if I hold it just firm enough. But what happens now if I don't hold that grape hard enough? It's going to drop, right? This is what happens with most salespeople. They don't close hard enough. They don't go just that extra mile. The pro normally gets his close on his 4th or 5th closing attempt. And the same thing is if I squeeze that grape too hard, what happens? If I squeeze it too hard, splat. That happens occasionally too. Here's how you can work on servicing a listing also. After I have listed the property with the owner, I explain to him at that time that we're going to have multiple listing tour, probably Tuesday or whatever day it might be in your area. And then I say, now when all the agents come through, they'll probably leave their business card and keep those cards for me. And then what I'll do is I'll pick those cards up, I'll check back with the other agents and get their opinion of what we can do to sell the property faster also. Tuesday we have multiple listing tour. Maybe Tuesday evening or Wednesday we pick up the cards. Now I won't be calling all of them if there's 20 or 30 cards, or even 15 maybe. I may pick out 4 or 5 cards of knowledgeable agents that I know that work in that area and know properties. I would call them and ask them. I'd say, Bob, by the way, I appreciate you previewing the property over on, and name the street. What was your opinion of the property? He says, Butcher, you've listed it $500 too high. And I've had him say that. It needs painted, it needs that, fix the fence, take up the carpet, put in this, whatever it might be. And I make a little note on the back of his card and I write it down and I say, thank you very much for your opinion. And hang up. Now after I've done this with about 3 or 4 good knowledgeable agents that I know, I now call my seller. Now I never divulge the names of the people that I talked with. Make sure you don't do that. I call the seller and I explain to him, the agents say, you need to do this, we could do this, you need to do this, take that old truck out of the driveway, would make the home show better. Just wanted to keep you advised. Thank you very much, goodbye. You haven't directly in any way offended them yourselves, have you? Explain to them also that when the property is being shown after 2 or 3 weeks, you'll come by and pick up the cards, should it not be sold by then. You'll come by and pick up the cards of those agents that have shown the property. You do the same thing by calling back the agents and saying, what was your buyer's opinion of that property? You call back the seller and say, the buyers say, you need to clean that pig pen up. The buyers say it would look better if it was painted. It would look better with that junk car out of the driveway. It would look better without the oil spots on the carpet. Whatever it might be. It would look better if we just shampooed the carpets. See, you're keeping them advised warmly, aren't you? After you've went through some of your servicing, like I've showed you here, call them back in about 3 to 4 weeks after you've advised them. Maybe you got the appraisal in, they wouldn't adjust or whatever. Call them back and say, would you like to make a price adjustment now or wait till later? See, now you've let him save face, haven't you? He may say, wait till later. And just by asking, you'll be surprised how many times he'll say, well, maybe we can. We've tried it in the market, maybe we can. A big danger is that is because you took the listing at $3,000 or $4,000 over market value, and you know it, you've tested it in the market, that you try to get a $4,000 or $5,000 price adjustment. Just try for $500. Asking, could we just try a $500 price adjustment and see if it gets us more traffic through the property? Start bringing them together warmly. You don't have to go for the whole thing all at once and then call him back the next week. Say the same thing. Would you like to try a price adjustment now or wait till later? Wait till later, fine. Are you now going to have this individual calling you and saying, when are you holding my house open? No. See, he wants to save face. He's going to feel embarrassed if he does now. What you do, after you've done this technique by calling him about the price adjustment, after a couple weeks more, you might say, would you like to make a price adjustment now or get serious about it next week? Then don't call him back the next week. You show up on his doorstep with a updated comparative market analysis and advise him of what the market is doing. These 3 more properties have come on the market. This one sold at this price. You see, just because you take the property that may be overlisted, that doesn't mean you can't sell it. You've got to service it. What's most people's attitude? We want to try it. We might get lucky from some farmer from Idaho with a trunk load of potatoes and cash. But we want to try it. See, that's their attitude. My feeling is, let them. But now, let's warmly adjust it. We did try it, didn't we? Now let's start adjusting the price to where we can get it sold. If the property is coming up to expire, don't wait until the night before and call and say, I just discovered that the property is going to expire tonight at midnight. Thought I'd come over and talk to you about a listing extension. Start talking about it about 30 days in advance. Just start talking about it. Plant those seeds a little bit. And then maybe the next week you talk with him, say, reviewing my service record here, we've done these. Maybe go visit with him. Say, this is what we've done and so forth, and it looks like either we need to make a price adjustment or we're going to have to extend the listing. But don't wait until the day before to start talking to him about it. Here's a good question. Here's a key phrase to ask sellers. Can you think of any reason why the property hasn't sold? Now this is after you've started your marketing process. Can you think of any reason why the property hasn't sold? Or another question you might ask them. Do you think having the property priced above market value may be the reason we're not having as many showings and we haven't received an offer yet? Do you think that could be the reason? What's he going to say? This guy should not be a fool. I know there may be a couple of them out there. Do you think it might be because we have the price too high? Looks like the darn market's tapered off, doesn't it? See, why should I be the one to blame? I'm keeping him informed. If you'll do these things, you are. You're doing your job. That's what he hired you for, to advise him. If you'll service your listings and do these things, send this stuff out like I showed you here, I have actually had sellers call me and say, Roger, quit sending this stuff to me all the time. You're sending them copies of the appraisal, you're sending them the letters, you're sending them the notes, you're sending them advertising over and over and over. Almost every 2 to 3 days they're getting something in the mail. Or a minimum of once a week. I've actually had them call and say, quit sending this stuff to me. You know what I'd say? Well, I appreciate you saying that. However, we did get a copy of the appraisal in. I'll mail you a copy. All right? Keep that servicing going. Here's some samples of thank you notes. Now, I'm really heavy on these thank you notes. Let's say you went to a for sale by owner, say a day or so ago, or you just visited with them is the best time, really. Send them a little thank you note. Say, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Jones, thank you for taking your time to show me your lovely home. I sincerely wish you the best in selling it. Should you desire to employ a professional real estate firm, I would appreciate an opportunity to show you the many benefits we have to offer. Sincerely, in your name, insert maybe a company brochure, maybe 2 business cards. Here's a thank you note for the referral. If you've got somebody that's giving you a referral, send them a little thank you note as soon as you get the referral. Dear Betty, just a word of thanks for your continued confidence and the referral to the Smiths. Sincerely, Roger Butcher. Put in a couple of your business cards. And then what I do also is on referrals, at the close of escrow, I will then give maybe a $50 gift or a check for $50. If I know of something that I think would be very appropriate in their situation, I would spend maybe $50 for a real nice gift. You'd be surprised how many more referrals you start getting. Cooperating agent thank you note. You know, the name of the game is cooperating with other salespeople. The next time you close an escrow with another agent, here's a sample of a thank you note that you should send to the other agent. Dear Bob, just a word of thanks for your help and the cooperation on the Glenfair Drive escrow. Looking forward to more business with you. Sincerely, Roger Butcher. Now, the next time you're wanting to show one of their properties, or the next time you have a listing that they may want to show, do you think they're going to be more sincere in working with you on that? Boy, you can kill them with this. I've had a whole office of salespeople just almost elated by sending one agent in the company. You can get a reputation, well, just like that, as being a good agent to work with if you'll do some of these minor things. A note that you should remember is the notes that I have just given you. These 3 notes should always be handwritten. Always be handwritten.